as somebody who also finds beauty in the equations, I find awe in the values of those constants, and they do call out to me for an intelligence that is far beyond anything I could possibly. And I get it, that the alternative is that there are an infinite number of other parallel universes, maybe for me, greater than believing in a creator who made it this way for our universe. So yeah, I think it seems a little too easy to dismiss that and go, well, it's the multiverse.
And so you both mentioned the fine tuning of the universe. And so that discovery comes from science. And so in your last interview with Richard Dawkins, he said this was the nearest approach to a good argument. So, and so considering most people are listening to this are novices to science, can you unpack what fine tuning is?
Sure. And it's a fairly recent realization, actually. You know, we do have this remarkable set of equations that govern the behavior of matter and energy. The gravity it follows an inverse square law, that the speed of light is fixed, that all of the properties of the atom follow certain abilities and rules about how they stick together or fly apart. Those laws, beautiful as they are, have constants in them that I don't know really anybody who will say we can derive the value of those constants from first principles. If you imagine the gravitational constant out to 7 decimal places, and you change that last decimal place that was an 8 into a 7, and the rest is all the same. And then you go through the math about what would happen if it was just a little bit weaker. There isn't quite enough there to get the coalescence to happen. And so you end up with things just flying apart in a pretty boring, sterile way. If you make it just a little stronger, then things come together a little sooner, but also the expansion of the universe has a limit. So in order to have this possibility of something beautiful and interesting, that had to have exactly that done. And the strong and the weak nuclear force and multiple other constants all have to have that same property.
So you're talking about like the conditions needed for life to exist on Earth.
Or for anything interesting. It's not just about this kind of life or this kind of Earth, just anything beyond some particles, which hard to me imagine much intelligence coming out of particles flying apart by themselves. So anything that you would call thought seems to require these particular parameters to be set in a very precise way. And that seems to cry out for an explanation. And again, as somebody who also finds beauty in the equations, I find awe in the values of those constants, and they do call out to me for an intelligence that is far beyond anything I could possibly imagine, who I don't think had to sit there and punch and it just knew and thought, and here it was. And I get it, that the alternative is that there are an infinite number of other parallel universes. And of course, we have to be in the one where something interesting could happen to have this conversation. But the inability to ever measure, except in the weirdest sort of way, the possibility that those really exist, seems then to require a great leap of faith to believe in the multiverse. Maybe for me, greater than believing in a creator who made it this way for our universe. So yeah, I think it seems a little too easy to dismiss that and go, well, it's the multiverse. Think about that. The other thing is, that doesn't solve the question of why there's something instead of nothing.
Yeah.
Sort of the big ultimate question. And that also seems to require some kind of an uncaused cause to have there be some.